Do you know how many units Royal Enfield sold in UK in 2019? 2,935 units. And do you know how many Harley Davidson sold? Across whole Europe, they sold 7,500 units. So this is approximately 45 to 50% of whatever Harley Davidson sold in whole of Europe. It was sold by Royal Enfield just in UK. The number of units of Royal Enfield went up in UK by 121%. Does it tell you something about the Indian brands? Remember Tetley, which is now an Indian brand? What is the market share of that? In UK, 27%. Does it tell us anything about the Indian brands? Europe once looked at Indian products and thought, cute, colorful, cheap, probably breaks in 2 weeks. And now Europeans are popping Ashwagandha pills, sipping Tata's tea and cruising on Royal Enfield like the coolest thing. So how did India go from being the land of spices and snake charmers to the land of software, samosas and surprisingly reliable motorcycles? Buckle up, because this story is as spicy as your butter chicken and a lot harder for Europe to digest. So before we go further into the video, let's rewind to the 80s and 90s. Indian products in Europe. 3 categories. Handicrafts, the kind tourists bought in Goa and then regretted at Heathrow. Textiles, beautiful, cheap, but somehow ended up in the ethnic corner of a department store. Food, curry powders that Europeans loved as long as they could pretend it was not too spicy. Basically, India's brand was budget, exotic, maybe spiritual if you throw in a yoga mat. If you told a German in 1995 that in 2025 he would be paying top dollar for turmeric lattes, aka haldi doodh in India, he would have laughed so hard he would choke on his bratwurst. Then came Tata Tea's Master Sukh. Remember Tetley, a proud British tea brand, practically royalty in the pantry. Well, in 2000, Tata, yes, an Indian company bought it. Cue the irony. Every morning, millions of British sip tea, not realizing it's owned by India. The nation that Britain once ruled now owns the beverage Britain can't survive without. It's like poetic justice, but with milk and sugar. Europe loves its motorcycles. Ducati in Italy, BMW in Germany. So when Indians tried to sell Royal Enfield, many Europeans thought, oh cute, a tractor disguised as a bike. But surprise, it worked. The old school charm, the thump thump engine, suddenly French hipsters and London cafe riders wanted it. Royal Enfield became retro cool, not retro embarrassing. And now it's one of the fastest growing motorcycle brands in Europe. So the continent that once laughed at Indian machines is now queuing up for one. Karma really does have 2 wheels. Next up, Indian pharma. Europeans used to think medicines from India were shady knockoffs. Today, Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, Cipla, some of the biggest generic drug suppliers in Europe. And then Ayurveda came marching in. Neem, Ashwagandha, turmeric, once dismissed as weird herbal powders, now sold in premium bottles with golden labels. Price tag? 25 pounds for a jar your Indian grandma still makes at home for free. Then come the 2000s. Europe knew India for IT outsourcing. Press 1 for customer support, press 2 to talk to Rajesh in Bangalore. But now it's Zoho, Infosys, Freshworks, TCS, Indian companies running Europe's digital backbone. And don't forget the CEOs, Satya Nadella, Microsoft, Sundar Pichai, Google. Technically not Europe, but Europeans happily use their products daily. So the continent that once saw India as the call center guy now sees India as the cloud software wizard. That's what we call an upgrade. So what's India's brand in Europe now? Wellness leader, Yog, Ayurved, organic cotton, tech innovators, SaaS, startups, software, AI, cool retro brand, Royal Enfield, Fab India, Indian fashion. It's a cultural powerhouse, Bollywood, Indian cuisine, festivals. In short, Europe went from made in India is equal to cheap and exotic to made in India is equal to sustainable, reliable, aspirational. Basically, India pulled off the greatest rebranding exercise since Germany convinced everyone they make reliable cars. So next time someone in Europe says, "Oh wow, is this Indian?" you can reply, "Yes," and it will probably run your computer, cure your headache, and look cooler on your Instagram feed. India's brand in Europe? No longer just spices and spirituality. It's innovation, style, and a quiet told you so. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Which Indian product do you like? Also, which Indian product do you think deserves a Europe glow up next? Basmati perfume, Bollywood sneakers, or maybe curry scented candles?